big legal unmet need are cryptocurrencies meeting?
I love the legal word being added in there. Many people believe there's a few illegal ones, I suppose. The legal need is that we have a monetary system, in my opinion, that is on its final legs. I continue to maintain that. It's a little bit of a radical opinion, but it's less radical than it was when I was first talking about that 10 years ago. What is essentially happening is we need an electronic money, but do we need government behind it? Do we need their politicized, their debt creation, a political system that always expands expenditure to get elected? How else do you buy voters off? You make promises and you spend more money than you get in. So the whole nature of that system incentivizes devaluation of a currency. In fact, the dollar has about 97% of its purchasing price since the creation of the Federal Reserve has been lost. So the buying power is 3% of what it was. And this is just expansionary elements. So a decentralized currency that is both electronic but decentralized, not got a government and a political system associated with it, and can have scarcity. So in the case of Bitcoin, there is a limit to the number of Bitcoins. There's 21 million. So the whole notion of proliferating further Bitcoins in terms of its constitution, certainly for now, seems to be very well committed to. I wouldn't say that's the most airtight thing that can ever happen. We have things such as forks, where there's certain people that want to take a coin in a different direction and they split. It's kind of like a band, the group that splits up, and the bassist and the drummer goes that direction and the vocalist and the saxophonist goes that way. So obviously that creates a new coin with a new methodology, and they might have Bitcoin Unlimited, for example. And there is a little bit of an element with Bitcoin facing a bit of a big decision in terms of its structure and how it's designed. But in principle, at least, you can sign up for something that has a degree of scarcity guaranteed in it in its constitution. While at the moment, there's 200 billion of QE being done a month around the globe. And that is continual expansion on currency, and it's guaranteed devaluation of that currency.
How bad is inflation for fiat currency?
Well, it's an interesting point, and that's one that most people get incorrectly. They think inflation is when prices go up. Actually, when prices go up are an effect of inflation. Inflation is just currency devaluation, which means whenever you proliferate further of a currency, you are creating devaluation, and that inflates away debt because the debt devalues relatively to it. So if I owed you £10, but then I halve the buying power of the currency, only actually going to cost me a fiver in new money. I'll pay you £10, but that diminished £10 doesn't buy what it used to. So what tends to happen is you don't always see the price increase initially, especially if all the money you're proliferating is only being handed to one group of people, or it's being stored in bank accounts, or it's the 1%ers only have it and it's driving an asset bubble. In other words, what's actually happening is a large part of the community that are paying for that bayout are having their money devalued, but they're not getting the largesse of that extra currency shared with them. So they are feeling relatively poorer. So their expenditure reflects that. It used to be a luxury being a two-income family. Now two-income families are battling to get by. We've had programs with, two police people that work a shift and hand the baby over, mum to dad, there's no babysitting, they can't get care, and the two-income families, reasonable rank police officers. So what's happening is tax and all of these elements have made it hard for ordinary people to exist, and they're not getting the largesse of the bailout monies that have been proliferated. So it's kind of like there's bleeding in the body, but it's internal. It's not bleeding out that you can see it. That's why we're not feeling necessarily the inflationary price in the prices yet, because there's such deflation in the bulk of the people that do the bulk of the expenditure, because we've got less discretionary income to expend. So there is a lot of devaluation. QE is currency devaluation and is long-run inflation. But the velocity of the money is also slowing down. So inflation is two things. It's more money in circulation, which there is. But if the velocity of the circulation of money drops in commensurate level, all you end up happening is lots of big pools of stagnant money. which aren't moving around. So there's a little bit of counterbalancing. The best way to think of it is like climatically. You know, you have global warming supposedly, but then you also have global dimming because of the particles so there's two countervailing forces. There is a deflationary effect because of this Great Depression we're in my view, macroeconomically. And hence why we're at record low interest rates for such a sustained period. And I don't believe we'll ever get back to normal rates because debt will become too expensive. So the Fed is largely being disbelieved with their hawkishness generally. And if they continue till eventually they are forcing something, they'll actually cause the next recession.